As usual, I would like to thank our principal sponsors, the Bohemian Benevolent and Literary Association, which generously supports everything we do. Also, the Ministry of Foreign Affairs of the Czech Republic, which has given us grants to, especially to enable us to record these events and edit them and put them up on the internet. So we're very thankful to them, as well as to all of you who have given individually. I was going to say, yeah, of course, do go to our YouTube channel and check out our past events, catch up on the things you missed. And I'd now like to introduce our special guest for today, Marian Beneš, who is a photographer, a university professor, a curator, and a juror. He holds the title of Master Qualified European Photographer, MQEP, which is awarded by the Federation of European Professional Photographers, and I did a little homework. They really don't just give this award out to anyone, it's really for the most distinguished photographers in Europe. Marian is head of the Studio of Photography and Audiovisual Arts at the University of Creative Communication in Prague, and he's also vice president of the Association of Professional Photographers of the Czech Republic. In addition, he teaches at the Institute of Creative Photography at the Silesian University in Opava, which, as I understand, is really the premier post-secondary program in photography in the country. He graduated from the Film Academy of Performing Arts in Prague and went on to receive his doctorate from the Faculty of Art and Design at the J.E. Purkyně University in Ústí nad Labem. He has an extensive connection to our city of New York, including time spent as a Fulbright scholar when he was studying at the International Center of Photography here in New York. And as you're going to see, his work includes digital photography for communication campaigns, advertising, editorials, and exhibitions. And his award-winning photography has been widely exhibited and is represented in many collections, private collections, and galleries, and in other institutions. And so tonight, he's going to be presenting a sampling of his photography, including photos taken from the restoration of this very building, which is, of course, of special interest to those of us who are intimately connected with the life in this building, as well as portraits of some Czech emigres, some of whom you might know. Car buffs are going to enjoy some of his digital work. And towards the end of his presentation, Marian is going to tell us a little bit more about his brand new book, which I believe is circulating. We'll get the lights up later so you can read that book better. We want to keep them low for now so that you can appreciate the images on the screen. And he will give you some more information about that. So please join me in welcoming Marian Beneš.
Hello everyone, hello. Thank you, Chris. I would like to thank you, the SVU, and also the BBLA for this great opportunity. So thank you very, very much. So you all are here, so probably you all like photography, right? Do you like photography? Yes, you do. Of course, everybody likes photography. This is the thing. Everyone today feels like to be a photographer. It's very simple. Just push the button and that's it. Well, the story can become to be a little bit complicated. It doesn't have to be. It can be easy like that. Why not? That's perfect, and it's great that photography is open to everyone today. But if you really get involved into that, then you find out that it's slightly more complicated, and that's basically what we do with our students, because that's usually the questions. Why students study many years, 3, 4, 5, 6, sometimes longer, it's up to them. Study this major if it's so simple, right? Because you know the most important in photography is the ability to tell a story. That's the essential. You know, it's not just about the picture; it's about the story, about the storytelling, and that's basically what is it about. Let me start with the documentary series from the Boxing Club from 1998. So it's exactly 25 years ago. It's one of my first, well, not the first, but let's say more important or something which I was more interested in documentary series, and it's from Florida in Sarasota. Why I'm showing this? Because that was the first time I ever visited the United States, 1998. I went to Florida, to Sarasota. I was a little bit working there, helping in one photographic studio, and I found this little boxing club, and I found it interesting because I was always interested in a pure humanistic documentary photography, especially like let's say on the background of the human activity and work. So as a photographer, I could always be involved in the world, let's say, hidden to our eyes. So these are just a few samples. I also made a book of it, but not a real book. I haven't published it. It's just a book dummy, which I have because I always liked graphic design, graphic layouts, and I loved photographic books in general. So I decided to put it together from this series. The second time I came to United States was actually in 2001. We all know what happened. These are actually my pictures. I was there. I was down there actually, and it was my beginning when I finished my study at Academy of Performing Arts in Prague, in FAMU, abbreviated. I was a Fulbright scholar, and I was about to start my study at International Center of Photography. And this picture was later published in the book Here is New York, dedicated to 9/11 occasions. So it was terrible for all of us, and it was the beginning of my stay in the United States. And after that, I was coming back to ground zero to document the aftermath. So I was returning and trying to deal with it, and that's the facades, the debris. I create like a World Trade Center memorial out of it. But besides that, I was when I was in New York, I worked on several, let's say, like street projects. All of these are actually 20 years ago, and there are going to be more anniversaries. I want to say I will get to them later, and I like to be close to people, to observe what's happening around, and including the MTA, the public transportation, which by the way I'm continuing right now as well. I'm trying to do those pictures. Sometimes the people know that I kind of ask them, or visually I'm trying to get in touch if they're okay if I take some pictures. Sometimes I gotta say I do it like kind of like a hidden, because I want to keep this, let's say, like the natural feeling of that whole scenes. Or I took pictures of holidays, festive. This is Passover. Festivities and so on and so on. By the way, all of these pictures so far are photographed on film. Nothing digital yet. So everything is on film, including this one, which I like a lot. So as I said, I was always been close to social teams, and I also took photographs in prisons, both male and female prisons, which actually I have here as well, but there is not going to be time to talk about it. But I like that inner world of prisoners. My interest here in New York during my study was focused on the background of the yellow cab service, the invisible side of this service, and the place where cars are being replaced, cleaned, maintained, and so on and so on. So the story basically shows their work from the point of view that we, as a cab customers, although I always use subway, we have no real idea about what's going on. So that actually was my very beginning, far beginning in dealing with cars, which I realized later that, because I will talk a lot about cars today. I'm sorry for that if you are not interested in cars, but I realized that this probably basically was the very first one. So let's do a quick big jump now, and in 2005 we started to work. I don't know if you can hear it. Yeah. The music is really low, but it's actually okay. That's good. We don't need to hear it more. In 2005, we started to work for the Škoda car company. And in fact, we started earlier. We started in 1995, but I will come back to this story later. And if I say we, I mean especially the cooperation with Professor Miroslav Vojtěchovský. He's not only the Czech photography guru, a very important person in Czech photography, but also he's a great theorist, curator, and especially great pedagogue. And it was also a start of my teaching experiences. In fact, this happened earlier as well, but it's not as important. But what you can see right now is the photo shoot of the Škoda Vision C concept. The concept is not a real car. And we photographed this at Strahov studio in Prague in 2014. I mentioned that we started in 2005. I will show you those results, but this actually was from 2014. This is another story, another video, which we made this story for the Škoda Auto Museum in 2011. We choose the right place very carefully to match the time period of the car manufacturing. Students helped us a lot because they basically prepared all those props, and most importantly, the clothing. They studied the fashion of the time. It was actually deep research. And they found everything to make the whole scene and atmosphere really perfect. Everything we did was to complete the assignment task, but also to give those students the insight into the environment of commissioned work. So it's not just the study to do assignments in school, but also to get the feeling how it is to work with client, what it means, what kind of communication, and so on and so on. And I worked a lot in Photoshop. It was like my prime working tool from the very, very beginning. And just this particular scene and this particular picture, which you will see in a while, the result has like several hundreds of layers. So it's a huge file. And again, it was in 2011. It wasn't pretty common to have a file which has 9,000 pixels. The length is 9,000 pixels. And so always like the huge files, as big as possible. To have the ability to do the most quality prints, and also to get a decent files, and have them in the best quality possible. We also use the digital bag, as you can see here. There's a special device attached to the regular camera. We use the Hasselblad in this particular time, and we attach the bag which has a large format digital chip with the highest quality possible. What I want to say that regardless of how long the photo is taking, let's say reportage, lightness, comfort, and liveliness must be always maintained. So that's like the goal that behind the scenes it takes a lot of time to work on it, to do everything what's necessary, but at the very end the most important is that it should for the client, for the audience, for the viewer, to remain like that. It was like like quick shot, like immediate shot, with basically no work on it. But of course, it's a world of advertising, so it must be cleaned up, definitely. But the result should be like really alive. So that's there was a calendar we made. We also made the custom case for it that you can see on the top. So we didn't do it just an assignment or a business at all. We really tried to put as much from ourselves as we could, and we also designed that case for it so it works well, and so on and so on, so that students can see that it involves also your heart. It's not just the technical stuff. So that's the result. There's the composition. We created another one. This is from the same series. The first that was named wedding, and this one meeting. How it all began? We have to go all the way back to 1995. I was a student at Academy of Performing Arts, and I was working on the catalog for Škoda Museum as a student. By the way, Professor Vojtěchovský at that time was head of that department as FAMU. And I was actually very lucky because my picture was chosen on the title of a new catalog, as you can see here. But I want to show you also other examples of that work. We are back in analog age. This is not digital yet. There are slides, so it must be very precisely exposed, very precise light. There is no other option or possibility to adjust it later. So we were very limited in terms of the technical possibilities. And for the comparison, you can see this beautiful car is from the year 1995, and now we will jump 10 years later to 2005. So it's the same car. It's the same surrounding almost. They renovated the bottom part of it. That's different. But if you see the background is the same. So same car, same background. 10 years difference. So it happened a lot in photography around the year 2000. So we are approaching a dawn, or let's say the beginning of digital age in that year 2005. So I think that we are apparently one of the first in the world who took the full advantage of it. How can I say this with such a certainty? Well, the digital chip cameras didn't have a required quality before and had a small resolution, and even the computers were not powerful enough by then. So all those photos are taken using the method we called the moving light method. We kind of invented it because there was nothing like that before. So we thought, okay, how we are going to do that? Because the assignment was to photograph these cars in the museum environment. It was just the assignment. We had to do that. We couldn't move those cars to the big studio, the photography studios. We had to use the surrounding, which was in the museum, and we basically come up with this method as the only way how to do it. We simply illuminated it gradually in parts with light. That's why we call it the moving light method. And then I put it together in Photoshop along with retouching and color grading. So there were no much creators like that at the time, if any. It was the real beginning of the digital era, and at that time, and the output quality just met the professional expectations. Well, if we talk about montage or assembly techniques, they are not new. Doesn't belong to the digital age at all. I have 2 examples. This is from 1857 from Oscar Gustav Rejlander, and this is his best known allegorical work, 2 Ways of Life. And he assembled it, it's a montage, it's a combination print made out of 32 images. It took him around six weeks. The second example is from Henry Peach Robinson, Fading Away from 1858. It's a composition of 5 negatives. And it was also like a moral story behind it, because there is a young girl which is dying, so it was very complicated to exhibit this picture. But she's dying of tuberculosis and so on and so on. But it's not true. She's not dying. It's staged. They are all actors. And again, it's a composition of five negatives. So people always trust photography. That's the thing. But we never could. I mean, there is no truth in photography. Or we have to be very careful. It is a reportage photography. Even the reportage photography, it depends on the angle of the view angle. It depends. So everything, but in the background, we still believe that photography depicts the truth. So anyway, so let's come back to our story. So these pictures were taken digitally in one location over the time of around 6 hours. 6 hours took us to move those lights, the light moving methods, to take different separate pictures, move the light, take another picture, move the light, another picture, and so on and so on. So it took around six hours, and from the sequence of those individual phases, I put together the final composite, which took me about like 20 to 40 hours of that Photoshop work. You can see that the huge advantage is to be able to take partial shots separately and then connect them into the digital environment of the computer. Just as you know, and this is going to be just like below the line note, the digital age started in the 90s when computers started to be affordable, and in fact the Photoshop came. But in the 19s, we were still using analog and film or slides, and then we scan it, we digitalize it, and then we work on it in Photoshop. After the year 2000, we started, to take all of those pictures straight digitally. It was like like attached to the camera. So, after all, besides the catalog, the client decided to produce calendars for the next 3 years. So, by the way, this is a workshop, the museum workshop, Škoda Auto Museum Workshop, extremely clean place, as you can see. It's unbelievable. So those guys are just making those beautiful pieces, ready to be ready to show. So this is the catalog. The catalog actually was dedicated to the 100 years of automotive history, besides those mentioned three calendars. And I don't know if you know it, but Škoda, but more specifically Laurin and Clement at that time, belongs among five oldest car companies in the world. the whole world. Here are just some behind-the-scene pictures, so you can see how we did it with our students. And I was told to say something or show something funny, but there is nothing much fun around it, because it's just a lot of work. And we were working overnight, and after we finished our school duties, so we started at 5 p.m. and we finished at 5 a.m. when cleaning ladies gave us a clear signal that with their brooms that we should leave. So we were actually very tired because it was a long day at school and then a long night. So it's funny, but we just sometimes was asleep because we just on the floor because it was exhausting. This is a ceremonial presentation of the catalog with our students, and this is just a sample of one of the exhibitions we made. Another project from 2011, it's about the Škoda Auto Museum depository, and the important thing is that. The technology is only an extent what I need to take a photograph. This, the technology just helps us. The primary about photography is not the technology. It's about the atmosphere, about those feelings. And as I said, photography is about storytelling, about, the ideas we are expressing. We are the means of visual communication, in our case, through photography. And for example, the goal of this project was show the craftsmanship of Czech engineers and designers. And as I said, all photos are taken using the method we call the moving light method, which today is, everyone is using it. It's nothing, it's pretty common. I mean, for the new generation of our students, it's pretty natural. But it wasn't like that, at the beginning of, around the year 2000. So just a quick example how it was. So we did those different shots. You can see that the light is moving. We are creating different atmosphere. And then, I put it in Photoshop. It's, it's basically, you are like a sculpture, let's say. You try to put it together, all those shapes, lights, shadows, and, then there is a color correction, or, and that's the result. So let me remind the above mentioned project, the Škoda Vision C, with those 2 or 3 pictures, when, unlike on the previous photos, we work in a large studio, here. So these are just some behind-the-scenes photos. And let's jump to another similar project from 2016. And that's the Attero. Attero is the name of the car, and the car is was built by students of technical school in Mladá Boleslav. Mladá Boleslav is the town where the Škoda company has its factories, and they ask. There's an option for the students every year to create their own car, which is pretty unique, I gotta say. The whole Volkswagen concern has this kind of ability, but very limited for students. They cannot build their own car from scratch, and only Škoda do that. So that's like the world unique. And it was widely promoted, our pictures, really like worldwide. You can see some of those articles in web automotive magazines. And, it basically, those pictures went all around the world. They publish it. And this actually is important evidence for me, and it was probably for the first time, and also, you know, the last time when my kids saw that, you know, my pictures are, because they see me, you know, how I was working on those pictures, and then they saw it. It's on the Top Gear web page. So at that time, you know, they appreciated their father's work. As I said, for the first time and the last time, they were amazed. But you know, and I was really happy, of course. But you know, it took like 5 seconds, and then it was gone. So, in the meantime, this is from like 2006, 2013. So, because we had a success with our pictures from museum, the magazine, one of the car magazines, asked us if students, you know, would like to do some stories, photographic stories. And we said, yeah, sure, of course. So they gave us, you know, for a couple days a car, and we created a team, students team, pure students. You know, we as a teachers were in background in these stories, and you know, they had the car, and they organized everything. This is not Photoshop. No, it is. This is Photoshop. And you know, they had just few days. It was like a real job. They had just few days to create those amazing compositions, and it went on. Then it was a smooth sailing. The Mitsubishi company asked us to create a calendar for the year 2010. So our students made pictures for a calendar. This is really not a Photoshop. It's a real shot. As you can see it, those horses were there. You know, it's not montage, nothing like that. No Photoshop work at all. So we were really surprised about the creativity of our students. It was like, you know, it was amazing. It was perfect. We were extremely lucky, and you know, I was always nervous that, you know, something can happen, you know, because young people have nice cars and so on and so on, and you know, they were shooting overnight, and it sounds pretty wild. So my phone was always on, and I was, you know, awaiting that. But you know, thanks God, everything went smoothly. So this one is for the next year, 2011. This is good, right? Sometimes I even didn't want to, you know, hear those stories behind it, because I was happy that those cars are in a good condition and clean, you know, return it, but it was good. And now we are already at another car company, the Chevrolet. Because of the students' work, there is a competition, young creative Chevrolet for the whole Europe, and when they saw our pictures, so the Czech division decided to be involved in this whole European competition, and they actually asked more photography schools in Czech Republic, and as I said, you know, the photography is not a movie. You know, it can hardly tell a story like a movie, but it can introduce to that story. And we were extremely happy and lucky that our students won the first prize with this photograph. It was in 2009. It was like the overall first place. And at that year, 120 schools from 19 countries participated, and we won the first prize. So it was perfect. Thank you. Oh, you can see it here. And After that, they opened also the video category. And guess what? We won it as well. The video. That's the winning video. And you know, it's made by two students, girls, and they were invited to the famous Paramount studio in Hollywood to take the prize. So they went. Unfortunately, teachers were not invited. They just didn't want to pay for us, which is okay. I'm happy for them. Funny stories, right? Chris is teacher, so you can feel how it's nice, you know, it's like really. And this is still the Young Creative Chevrolet competition, and this is, you know, one of the photograph. And the Chevrolet asks those students who did it to give away those sausages and a bottle of beer. You know, they said, you know, they said, students, would it be possible, please? You know, it's a beautiful composition, but you know, before or prior we apply this picture to the competition, would it be possible just to give it away? Because, you know, it's kind of like weird. And do you know what the students said? Students, they said, no way. So it's in there. They said, okay, if you don't want. So this already the start of CGI era. The CGI, it stands for computer digitalized imaginary, and computer generated imaginary. And this is still based on photography, but some parts are created not photographically, but straight in a computer. And this is another example, second example. You know, this is, you know, for it's like a Tatra series, Tatra car company. And students, they use the CGI because, you know, one of those models doesn't exist anymore, so they wouldn't be able to take this picture at all. So it's a combination of CGI, digitally created picture, and the real scene, and then they put it together. So we're basically how to conclude this digital era. What do you think this is? This actually is from 2023. It's just new. It's from now. And my student, he will try to finish his study with this series. You know, it's just before his finals. And this is artificial intelligence. Artificial intelligence. So there's the AI, and you know, even this is not a pure AI. You know, we could say, okay, so this is not a photographic work anymore, but this is a combination. You know, because not everything can AI do pretty well, so it's a combination of photography and artificial intelligence. So who knows what's ahead, right? We will see what will happen with photography in the future. So our work was, of course, it was widely published in different magazines, newspapers, catalogs, and so on and so on. We wrote some articles about it, and we also got some prizes as well, but it's not as interesting. But what's interesting is that, for me at least, probably the greatest joy I had was that you know, the award and publication of our work in the PDN, Photographic District News, a prestigious American magazine for professional photography. So I was extremely happy. Thank you. Thank you. You are too nice, but thank you very much. There are some calendars of the year. And, you know, this is the exhibition is in the headquarters of the Ogilvy advertising company in Prague. I'm so sorry that, you know, it was so much about cars, but, you know, for the whole beginning of the digital age, it was, you know, hugely important as an introduction. But, you know, of course, all of these mentioned principles are also, you know, are touching other photographic genres. So, for example, if we do, you know, glass, wood, or jewel, so everything is basically the same. You have to be a professional photographer. You have to know about composition, light, colors, and so on and so on. But all of these digital techniques are just the same as you saw previously at those car projects. And the same is in architecture. Oh, this is actually Bohemian National Hall. But I have others. And it's the same way, there's the same situation. I could talk a lot about every single picture, but you don't have the time for it. But you know, it seems that it's that the architecture doesn't move, right? The building doesn't move, so it's simple. It's not simple at all. But for example, this is the Prague 10 city district. It was the series of architecture photographs for the Prague 10 city hall. So all of those amazing architects and buildings. So this is an excellent opportunity to talk a little bit about the National Bohemian Hall project. So this is it. This is it. So you can see that, you know, it's the exterior on the left side. I also have a night picture. You will see it later. And, you know, it was actually pretty challenging because for, you know, a couple of years or several years, I was thinking how to do the exterior because, you know, you need a distance. And there is no distance. There is a street, and across the street is another building. So, you know, the building cannot fit in a frame. So, you know, we decided to do, you know, to try to do it from the opposite building, from that, you know, fire escape ladder. But, you know, in order to get there, we would have to go through an apartment, you know, so go through an apartment and get outside to that, you know. So we asked the landlord from the opposite building. He was Italian. He was very willing, and so he managed it. It was an apartment where some 3 girls were living. They said, of course, we are not going to be at home, but you can get in and it's going to be okay. We went in, the apartment was such a mess. It was clothes everywhere. We just couldn't go through, you know. So we went through finally, and I decided, you know, to take, you know, 2 pictures, one like a late afternoon and one the night one. And of course, it, you know, it couldn't fit in a frame in the camera because the building is huge, right? So I have to, you know, to tweak it, do it, you know, several times, and then put it together in a Photoshop. But it went pretty well. This is from the magazine. But overall, you know, if I want to talk about how it all began, so I got to say that I was extremely lucky that Irena Kovářová, who worked at the time in the Czech Center, it was the year 2003. I'm very happy that Irena is here today. So thank you, Irena, again. So he basically disclosed the existence of this building for me. He was the first one who said that this building does exist. It was before the renovation. We were very lucky because the renovation started in 2003. So I could, to take some pictures before. And the other friends who were extremely helpful, were Pavel Semerák, the Ministry of Foreign Affairs representative, responsible together with David Olša for the reconstruction. I would also like to mention the architect, Mr. Jan Hirt Pokorný, and Josef Balázs, who were willing to provide me with the important information and were also my big support. I would also like to thank the architect, Mr. Holub, who is here as well. He was also very, very helpful during the whole time. So, I was impressed by the interior illumination, and I could decide to take whatever camera I could, but I decided, to get the plastic Holga camera. It is a plastic body. It's also got a plastic lens, and it's a medium format camera, 2.25, and it's the best way how to depict the illumination of that original atmosphere of this building. Maybe you remember some of those, like the memory of that time. It's beautiful. And it was really, we had just like a couple weeks, and then the first part of reconstruction is officially named demolition. That's on all papers. Demolition part 1, demolition part 2. So you can imagine how quickly everything changed, right? In terms of photography, the story was interesting because whole possible formats and medias were used, including, as I said, the plastic camera. This is, on the other hand, a large format, technical, professional camera for large format films. And then, of course, 35mm analog cameras. After that, 35mm digital cameras. And the end, also the digital medium format. So, and panoramic as well. So within those 2003 to 2008, within those 5 years, basically almost the whole history of photography went through this. So it was like, it was perfect. And look at that. This is exactly, that's the groundbreaking. This Mr. Jan Hirt Pokorný, exactly 20 years ago. And also it's a May. It was May 2003. Isn't it amazing how photographs can stop the time, the beauty of this medium? At the same time, it's a little bit scary, but I will rather stick with the beauty. And this is the panoramic format. Also, Mr. Jan Hirt Pokorný and other very important people. So this is analog, for example. All of these are on film. It's a mixed media. It's probably somewhere here around the corner. The facade was renovated many years before the main reconstruction started, and at that time, thanks to Mr. Jan Pokorný, the building became to be a New York landmark, which basically protects it and make it safe for the future. This is here, right? Yeah, that's here. This is work by architect Martin Holub. Maybe he want to say something, or maybe later would be great, because this is his work, right? That's the ballroom during the construction work, and now a little magic. What do you think? It's good, right? And do you want to see another little magic like that? And the same from the other side, or similar from the other side. The curtain. And now, let's jump back. Difference, right? So let's see some more pictures from the renovation. I will try to be a little bit quicker. Actually, right now I'm in these days, since I'm here, I'm working on a similar project here in New York. It's the renovation of the permanent mission on Madison Avenue. It's also a great project, and I look forward to the result. I was there even today, in the early morning, in that construction site, full of dust and everything, and it's very similar to what you can see here now. But I guess there are going to be apartments on Madison when it's done. And here you can see the finished work. Some of these photos, particularly those few, were made thanks to the support of my great friend Peter Serling, who is here today as well. Because I couldn't be here at that time, and when I opened at the Czech Center, so he took those pictures. Thank you, Peter. Just the curtain. Roof. And there's the night shot. And this is the grand opening of the third floor where we are right now. You can see Joseph Balash I guess it's 2005. That's the lobby. By the way, the picture of the beautiful curtain has been chosen for the poster of the exhibition named Czech Places Memory Traces from 2008. And I like the dialogue from old and traditional and new and ultra modern. So this is the view to that exhibition, into the exhibition. It was created by Jaroslav Anděl, and he compiled the whole project, which contained a little book and exhibition from my photos. And here we are, the portraits. After that, I thought it might be nice if I'm doing the whole project about Bohemian National Hall, to bring the important Czech compatriots living here in New York and take a portrait of them. So Vid is here, right? So I also asked them a few simple questions, like how long have you been in the United States? Maida is here today as well. How long have you been here in the United States? How does living here mean to them? What's the most? What do they value the most? And so on and so on and so on. So I wish to take more pictures of more compatriots, and I hope there might be a chance to continue. Probably not now, because I leave on Saturday, but next time I hope I will come. Would be great if you would be willing to be portraits. That would be perfect. You and your friends and so on and so on would be excellent if you could extend this line. So you probably know all of them, right? Or most of them. This is Pavla Niklova, and I continued, and there are also some other compatriots. These are from Slovakia. You probably know them, but I haven't processed it yet. So if I will need help, to name it and label it and everything, I will ask you for your help.
Are these natural lights, or do you have the lights?
I have lights with me. Yeah.
I mean, these photos.
Yeah, these. Yeah. I have my own light, more specific lights, more lights with me. Yeah. No, there is no light. That's just the exhibition is lit like that, and these pictures are very good, and the documentation of this exposition is by Pavel Semerák. He did it for me. And it's an exhibition named History of NYC Landmark, celebrating the 10 years anniversary of restoration. And they did it with my photographs. So I'm very glad, and thank you again. It was perfect. Great honor for me. I think they did a great job in terms of the overall exposition. So let me finish this evening, not completely. I have one extension, but let me finish it with this picture, which is like a symbol of this building, and also the life and the passage of time. And again, it is exactly 20 years, and again, it's the May 2003, so it's exactly 20 years. And you probably know many people which are in there. So thank you for having the patience. Just please sit still. I'm just glad that you survived, because you have seen over 400 pictures in 1 hour. So that's amazing, and thank you for that. Don't move yet. I will just show, but really like in 1 or 2 minutes, not longer. I would like to show you the samples from the book, Photography of the New Millennium, I'm sorry, Photography of New Millennium. And the book is around, and the goal was to anchor those activities in those years, 2005 to 2020. And, it covers 15 years of my cooperation with Professor Vojtěchovský on both levels, professional as well as academic. And I actually realized only recently that because of the digital arrival, we were part of a birth of something truly special in the history of photography. But the book also includes lots of articles, texts, not just from both of us, from Professor Miroslav Vojtěchovský and me. By the way, his texts are really extraordinary, but also interesting opinions of alumni, and of course a lot of amazing photographs from all. I'm just sorry that all of those texts are in Czech language, and I know it's a problem, but there is probably no way how to translate it, because there's a lot of pages and it would cost fortune just to translate it. But if you know Czech language, you understand Czech, I would highly recommend to read at least some of those texts, some of those articles. I'm very honored that I received the Best Publisher 2022 title, which was one of the highest in the FEP. FEP stands for Federation of European Photographers, and it's European Photo Book Award. It was in Rome last year. And this book is probably, definitely one of my biggest projects ever. So I hope you will enjoy it. The book is, the one copy is right here. We will turn on the lights right now, and it's gonna be Q&A, and if you have a chance, just look at it and enjoy the evening. Thank you very much. That's it. Thanks.
Thank you so much, Marian, for this amazing tour. 400 photographs, and we know that a picture is worth 1,000 words, so that's like 400,000 words worth of information. Maybe someone has a question or a comment.
Thank you very much for your presentation. Do you think that with the progress in the AI field, very soon photographers will be out of business? Thank you.
We all do not have any answer yet, because it's very new, and we are, all of us, we are very surprised. And it doesn't touch just photography. It's also, it's a question of what will happen with literature and music, for example. So that's a big hesitation. But we can also and always take it as an opportunity. To use the artificial intelligence as a tool for inspiration, which already many artists do already. They use it as inspiration. But you are right. Some of those specializations will probably disappear, because it will take over by the artificial intelligence. But on the other hand, this is not the end of the world, and it's just evolution. And the evolution is here, forever. So, and we as a people, as a human being, must be able to modulate ourselves, to find, different opportunities, to find the places which will become open, which definitely will. It will happen, So we cannot stick with one angle, and we have to just move around and shift to somewhere else. And that's what we should do. But that's not unique. That's that's a historical thing.
Yeah.
But it's happening too quickly. That's true. We are not ready. We are not prepared. Thank you. Thank you.
Another question or comment? Yes.
So in case when you work with, let's say, AI image or digital, do you still have to adjust the lights in the Photoshop or whatever media you're working?
Yeah.
Or does the AI, can the AI produce a perfect picture?
It's not easy for me to answer. It's very hard, but I gotta say yes, it can produce already perfect picture, already perfect photograph. You don't have to work on it more with lights and with everything. On the other hand, it's, I already have seen like thousands AI photographs, and I gotta say they are all about the same. It's very similar. So I think we are amazed from the beginning of those possibilities, but also we will probably get bored quickly because it's one like the other. It's very, very similar. And they look artificial, yeah. On the other hand, they look artificial, but it goes extremely quickly. So what was almost impossible 2-3 months ago now look pretty good, and in the next 2, 3, 4 months it will be like perfect. But of course, the artificialness will be there probably always. And the more precious will be unique photographs, like architecture, portraits. Thank you. And documentary photography, for example, that will be precious for forever. But it will definitely deeply touch the advertising segment, advertising photography, for sure.
When was the last time you used film?
So you would accept that I will say like 15 years ago. It was last year. I know it exactly. Because I gotta say, I got a little bit tired of the digital world. So I came back and found my 20 years expired films. But I kept them in fridge, so it was good. So I tested it, and they are perfect. Like, I was amazed. Excellent results. So they still last. I don't have much of them already. I shut them. So I will have to go to the store and buy a new one, but they become to be extremely expensive. So that's a problem. So yes, last time I did some projects on film again, and I enjoyed it a lot because you have to think a little bit in a different way. You really have to think because, every time you push the button, it has the value of that frame. So you are more concerned. It's more a mental process than anything else. So yeah, thank you.
Was that large format? Or?
Medium, 20-quarter Hasselblad.
Do you still teach film? Is it taught at school?
It didn't work. It's not working. There are definitely more. The most schools they still teach the analog photography. The school I am the most involved in, we do not do that anymore, which I'm personally very sorry. But there is no room for analog photography already because we are, including video editing and so on and so on. So that wouldn't fit. But students, they like it. And what I used to do, at least, in the first grade, we did a pinhole camera. So the students, took a box out of the shoes, whatever box, made a little tiny pinhole, and opposite to that they placed the we do it not on a negative color on a film, but on paper, photographic paper, and that photographic paper become to be a negative for that process. So then they just do the copies, one to one copies. So that's their first touch with. Because of course, I mean, most of them, I don't want to say all of them, but most of them, they have no idea what analog photography means, and so they try it, and they usually, start to like it, and then they shoot films and so on and so on. So yeah, I think that the analog photography should survive, at least for the educational purpose. And I gotta say, I was at that International Center for Photography, the school I was studying, that was 20 years ago, and now they are at Lower Manhattan. And I went a school tour to see what they have, and they said that analog photography started to be extremely popular after the COVID. No one wanna sit in front of the computer anymore. They wanna do something with hands. So analog photography is like they rebuild. So I'm glad for that.
Any other questions?
I just have too many questions. As a teacher and professor, how do you know this is a good student? Like, what are you looking at when they present their pictures? How do you judge it?
Thank you. All of those are good questions and not easy to answer. But you know what? I would say that probably more than pictures is important to talk, the interview. It says much more about the personality of that prospective student. I don't care about pictures as much if they, gonna show it to me and gonna, become to be students. So the pictures itself, it's definitely interesting to see it, to get some, broader view. But much more important is that interview face to face. Sometimes through Zoom, but it's much better if it's in person. And because you want to know something about their lives, what they like, what they do. And that's for the artist, that's more important if they have any vision, meaning, any ideas. If they are well educated, that's what you need to know. And then if, that person becomes to be interesting, there's a huge chance that he or she is gonna be a good student and good photographer or video maker, whatever. So again, the photography is about life.
Anyone else? All right. Well, just like to say, for those of you who get a look at this book, you can order it online from, for example, heureka.cz, and it's widely available in bookstores in Czech Republic. Yeah, so it is available that way. Thank you so much for joining us. Please give your applause to Marian.